So yeah, this is where we mix all the dough and we make all the butter. I mean, back in 2010, that was our packaging room, our employee lounge area. And then through the years, we took over the whole building. Okay. This is our walk-in. You can get a look at some of the butter in there. Right, the green. That's our secret sauce. is the canna-butter. And that's nothing. That's just kind of the next batches that we'll use. We got freezers full of the stuff.
It smells good.
The High Times was doing a show in here one time, and they named this the Butter Vault.
Butter Vault.
Butter Vault.
The Butter Vault. Oh, can we add a sticker to your door?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, hold on, let's see.
Right, dabs are us. Yeah.
Oh, that one doesn't really show up, huh?
That's cool.
The background. It's clear, so it shows whatever's underneath it.
I like it.
I should have done those ones in white, huh?
So then, yeah, these are our soup kettles where we make our butter.
Those are huge.
They're empty right now, but we get both these things cranking, right? And we'll make the butter. We'll go through the process. It's about 8-hour time process. Then from there, we'll mix them together for one batch, get them fully homogenized, stir it, right? Then we process it. From there, the lab will come and take samples of the butter. They'll take like 3 or 4 random samples from every batch. And the main thing we're concerned is for potency, to make sure everything is the same, right? And so we have a really small margin of error, but everything has to be within about 4%, and then that passes, and then we can adjust our formulas from there to make a perfect 10 milligram cookie, or a perfect 100 milligram cookie.
Get hooked on cookies.
Ooh!
Yummy.
That's the birthday cake cookie, guys. We
It's
made that
warm.
cookie to celebrate our 10 years in the cannabis industry.
Nice. Yum.
Well, he made his first batch of brownies, 1978 or 1979?
79 years.
Got the whole football team stumped.
Nice.
Before the game?
Yeah, it was.
Was it? Yeah, before the game.
Did they lose that game or?
We still won. We won like 60 to nothing.
Nice. Wow, maybe it is a performance enhancing drug.
All right, yeah, so this is kind of mixing, butter's made, it's all kind of the raw ingredients, right? Then from there, once we mix the dough, it comes over here. This is where we make the dough, right? And so it'll come out of our machine here. They go into these racks, and then they go straight into the oven.
Oven's right here. Ooh, that's a big oven.
How many batches can you do in a day? We can make about, we've made as many as 30,000 cookies in a day.
Wow. 30,000 cookies.
Yeah. They'll bake for 10 minutes, then they'll get wheeled over to the next room over where they get cooled down and they get packaged.
How long does it take when you make like the butter to get tested, to hear back like the testing results, then you can start making the cookies?
Yeah, so it takes, I think, about 3 or 4 days is like the turnaround time. But we're like, we have tons of, we've
Other
stockpiled
stuff.
butter over the years. But the butter process itself takes 3 days. Right, you cook it one day, the next day you process it and put it in the fridge, and then it takes a day to set up in the fridge and harden. And then from there, the next day you clean it and process it into blocks, and then that's when they'll come and get their samples. Now we'll do a batch per day, it's standard, so it'll be like indica, birthday cake, and we'll make 10 batches, all done with a single 10 milligram cookies. But every batch has a batch sticker. Our new insane churro cookie, which is a collab with Be Real. That's a real popular one as well.
That sounds good.
How many dispensaries are you in now?
Well, we're in about, call it 400, a little less than 400, 375 was our last count.
Wow.
Thought about going to other states?
Yeah, we're in Florida.
Oh, you are?
Yeah,
Okay.
we just launched in Florida about a month and a half ago.
Cool.
So why don't we walk back through and go across the street to the distribution hub? Yeah.
Sounds good.
This is where they go to while we're waiting for testing, right? So the lab will come to our distribution facility and they'll go through and they'll pick out random bags. Then it goes into quarantine, and when we get the COAs, then we can start selling it. And we'll kind of pick and pack the orders. We'll have to do all the metric tagging and all the regulatory stuff, and then pick and pack the orders. The driver comes in the morning and it goes up to Santa Rosa or anywhere in the Bay Area.
another episode. Here we go. So we're with Big Pete and just Junior?
Yeah,
Okay.
or Little Pete, whatever.
Little Pete? Okay. All right. So I did a little bit of research online just to kind of get a little history of the company. And it was very, very vague. There wasn't a whole lot of information, and I know there's a lot more to the story than what I could find on the website. So can you tell me like about the origins? Like, how did you get into this?
Sure. Well, in 2009, I was up in the Santa Cruz mountains growing some herb. That was my passion, was growing cannabis. And we needed a place to put all our trim and shake.
Okay.
And, you know, my girlfriend at home, she was, an A-plus baker. And it happened that I went to Oaksterdam University in Oakland that summer and perfected my butter skills from a long time ago. And we put the butter in with the cookies. We tested it out on all the guys at the hydro stores because I was shopping there all the time. And they loved it. They said, Big P, you got to take this to the stores throughout California. They're going to love these cookies. And so here we are today, making these cookies all over the state of California.
Were these like family recipes that you had? Like what was chocolate chip, right?
Chocolate chip, that was our #1 flavor, followed by peanut butter and the cinnamon and sugar.
Okay.
After we came out with those three, we added the sativa versions of those cookies. Back then we had a 40 milligram sativa large cookie and an 80 milligram indica cookie.
Okay.
But through doing hemp cons and high time shows, we decided that we needed to, instead of breaking big cookies and making them into a bunch of little pieces, we made the mini cookie. And that's how we came out with the mini cookie during a high time show.
I like the mini cookies because I've had those big ones and wasn't paying attention. You know, our nature is to eat like the whole damn cookie, right?
Yeah.
So I ate the whole cookie before I realized it was 500 milligrams. And this was before like the limits on what you could have.
Sure.
And it was the worst edible experience I've ever had. And because of that, I stayed away from them for a long time. So when it came to like now we can get a single dose, not much, it's about this size right here.
Yep.
Yeah, I know what I'm getting. And I can eat one and see how it makes me feel, and then I can go from there. So I think that's a great idea. But you still do have the 100 milligram cookie.
We have the 100 milligram P. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, no, I mean, in really the singles, the mini cookie, that was a big monumental moment for our business in general back in 2013 or whenever we came out with the mini cookie, because back then there was nothing controlling the dose, making it easy for people to dose their edibles. Right? So that was our first kind of game changer in our business back in the day. But yeah, the 100, and then we came out the 100 milligram because that was a good product. One of the #1 things we heard after legalization is, we need something stronger from really the more, the stoner, the more hardcore stoner, right? Or for lack of a better word. So we hear that feedback of, we want something stronger, the caps on the THC, what's up with that? But so there's just, I think that's more of a kind of a niche market for people that are really looking for something more powerful.
Yeah. Well, and it's a lot more if you're eating edibles, you're not really worried about like how many calories you're getting so much, but it is a lot better than eating this whole bag.
Right. Right. And that's the feedback we get. Hey, I don't want to eat a whole bag of cookies, so that it's the size of 2 cookies is 100 milligrams, right? And I don't think anybody really needs to eat a whole bag of cookies with our cookies, because, but that's what some people will say, and sometimes they compare it to other edibles. I think our canna-butter method will actually make our cookies stronger than the average 10 milligram cookie made with distillate.
What is it that you guys do differently, like apart from other companies, to make it that much better?
Well, it's the canna-butter. It's going through the process to cook the bud and the trim and the flower and infuse that into the canna-butter with the 3-day process of making this high quality canna-butter, right? And so, it's a lot easier to make edibles with oil, right? But our method is the trusted method that's
people have been eating butter for thousands of years. So we feel like that's just a higher quality way to make edibles.
And it's easier too because it's butter's in the recipe anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like you're not having to add this whole separate thing, other ingredient.
Exactly.
So when we were looking at the butter vault over there, as you guys call it, how many pounds of butter do you do a day? Or like, there looked like there's a lot in there.
Yeah.
Each one of those bricks, like what's that?
Each one of those bricks is probably 8 pounds or 10 pounds, something like that, 6 to 10 pounds roughly.
How many batches can you get out of like one of those?
It's hard to say. So we get the butter, like we'll make a big batch of butter, call it 200 pounds of butter.
Right.
Okay. And from there we'll get it tested for potency and to make sure each butter block is the exact same. And then from there we can calculate our recipe. So how much, like a batch of butter could probably make 2 days of production.
Wow. Okay. So you're constantly doing the butter then.
Yeah.
That room is always being used. We caught it at the downtime.
Yeah, it's always being used. I'm sure they'll start a batch later today. Well, it's Friday, so they're not going to start a batch today because I don't think they're working this weekend. So, but yeah, it's always.
Do you guys source the trim and all the stuff that you use to make the butter like locally, local farms from around here?
We do.
Okay.
We do. We source it from local farms in Santa Cruz County, and all the way. We're lucky to be in Santa Cruz, centrally located. There's a lot of great farms just right around us in the Salinas Valley in Santa Cruz County.
So how do you do, like, is there specific strains that you look for like from sativa to your indicas? Like how does that, what goes into making that? So the black bags are going to be the cookies made with our indica dominant butter. The white bags are going to be cookies made with our sativa dominant butter. And so we don't make any claims like, hey, the indica is going to make you sleep and the sativa is going to give you energy. It's just being transparent with the cannabis that we're making our butter with, right? If you eat enough, and this is what we tell all the bud tenders, and hey, if you eat enough cookies, you're going down. You know what I mean? So that's what I try to tell customers too, because like for me, it could just be me, but I think there's a lot more people like myself. Like I could eat this, and I'd probably still feel the same.
Yeah.
The high is the same. I just feel high.
Yeah.
I can't tell like one way or the other if that was an indica. If you didn't tell me, excuse me, if you didn't tell me it came out of this bag, I probably wouldn't know.
Totally.
So that's why I asked that, because I think that's a common misconception. Like,
and really,
this one's going to make me go to sleep, and this one's going to be like my morning cookie with my coffee. You know what I mean? Like,
And I think that is kind of a misconception in the industry. It's like the sativa versus indica is really just the genetics of the plant, the way the plant grows, right? So a sativa plant is going to be more of like a tall, kind of more spindly kind of plant, where an indica is going to be more short and bushy. Right. That's the difference right there, right? So it's not. So that's where we just do our indica and sativa, and I say it. I mean, part of it is marketing, too. Like honestly, right? Is because and you guys know this. People will come into your store and say, "I only do indica." Yeah. Okay, well here you go. Yeah. Right, and so it's just for some people it's mental.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I've been doing a lot of research, just going through like Leafly trainings and things like that, and really finding out like that when it comes to edibles, unless it's like made with like a live resin, it's really hard to put that like, oh yeah, this is for sure an indica, and it's going to give you all those same effects of like an indica flower, right? So we do have some gummies that do that, and you can definitely tell the difference, because I've eaten like tons of gummies, and those ones you for sure can tell like, yeah, that made me tired.
Right, versus an edible made with a distillate or
Right. So this is a flavor that I had never seen until we came here. How did this? Tell me the story of how you got like Be Real and all that, because that was really cool to hear that when you were telling me that.
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing this a long time. We started in 2010 out of my dad's home kitchen, and and we were in the early years we were working all the different High Times cannabis cups and the hemp cons and all the different events, and so we came across Be Real back then, right, and just kind of like talked to him and just gave him some cookies back then, right, and so he's seen us just over the years, and we did a a white label product with the Cookie brand, right? And so him and Burner are buddies. So I think maybe that's how he kind of really thought, oh man, I want to make a cookie with these guys too. So he reached out to us, and Be Real is just a great guy, super easy to work with, totally behind the product, and so it just came together.
Was that a flavor that he came up with, or was that your idea?
We all came up with it together.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's just like everybody loves churro cookies.
Oh yeah.
And so we just thought that was a good flavor. That's a mainstream flavor for Be Real. And I got a funny story because I asked him at first, hey, what's your favorite cookie? Mm-hmm. And he goes, oatmeal raisin. And I go, Be Real, that's funny. That's my favorite cookie. But we've done those in the past. They're not big sellers.
Yeah.
So we came up with the churro cookies, and I think that's kind of the perfect fit.
I think so too.
Mm-hmm.
It just goes to me. It was just like I said earlier. It proves like what you guys are doing is you're doing it right. When big names like that are willing to put their name on it and go into and collab with you, that's just proof to me that you guys are doing it better than others.
Nice.
And what do you think is the difference between like your cookies versus some of the others? I won't name any brands, but there are a few that like you bite into and you're like, yeah, that's an edible for sure. Like you could just taste the flower, the weed in it, and some people like that. I'm not one of them. I really want to enjoy it. Like it's like a dessert for me. I love cookies and stuff like that. So how do you guys do that where you don't have so much of that flavor?
Well, this is what we do. We specialize in cookies.
Yeah.
Right. So we're really focused on making cookies and baked goods in general. And, I think the way the process of our canna-butter is key. Right. And that's our biggest differentiator that you'll hear us talk about a lot is that canna-butter process, the slow cook method, so that way the flavor isn't overpowering. You might have a little hint, but it's gonna taste good. And so from day one, that was always our objective, to have a quality experience, right? From the taste to the effects to the consistency.
Yeah, because a lot of times like companies will use like a lot of sugar or other ways to kind of mask that flavor, and you can tell like you guys didn't do that. It tastes like a peanut butter cookie I would cook at home, or like a chocolate chip cookie, or these things, which I'm probably going to eat the rest of this plate later, or they're still like they're so soft and chewy. And one of the reasons I stayed away from a lot of cookies over the years too was I like to dip them in milk, and they wouldn't get soft, like they wouldn't get that like soft. They would just like repel the milk, and it must be because of the oil, like you were talking about, and not butter.
Right. Maybe.
I never thought of that until you said that. Like,
Yeah.
oh, that makes sense. It's not getting wet. So you had told me earlier that you started with brownies like way back in the day.
Yeah, way back in the day, like in high school.
So how come you haven't done some brownies yet? Like what held you back from doing that? Like us already. Like I know you said it's coming, but.
Right. Well, we've talked about it for years. It's probably the molds you have to get and all that make it doesn't fit in with our production. Okay. But we're going to get all that stuff and really go for it.
Yeah. And to back that up, really the shelf life too.
Oh.
Okay. And the butter. Right. And that's how we've always made our cookies, is with butter. And and we can, and now we have the ability to do it anyway. But you can make brownies with butter, but typically they're more made with like oil, like canola oil, or something like that. So we're really getting really close on some really great brownies that have a good shelf life, that can, because the cannabis dispensary is different from a coffee shop or a bakery.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's got to go through the supply chain. It's a consumer package good versus like a bakery where you can bake brownies every day, and like people are coming in there and they're fresh. So you're just kind of working through those hurdles, I think, is the biggest thing.
Yeah. And when we were doing the tour, you had mentioned something about what is it that you do in here to make them stay so fresh? Because they are, like, you open them up, and we've had them on the had them for a couple weeks or whatever. You open it up and it tastes.
Yeah, so we do a nitrogen flush,
okay,
and that helps with the shelf life for sure, right? That basically what that does is it just puts the nitrogen in the bag and the air out.
Okay.
Right? Because the air is what kind of will oxidate the cookie and make it stale.
Okay. Yeah, because it's nice that I like the chewiness. That's why I was really excited when you said about the brownies, because
Nice.
that's why I love brownies. Those little edge pieces.
Yeah, they're gonna be good. But back to Big P, because I want him to kind of go deeper on this.
Yeah,
is,
me too.
Is you know,
The story,
tell him the story about, you know,
my first batch of
the brownies, but then Hawaii, because
Okay.
you know this is a big part of his story that I want him to open up about.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you know, my first cannabis plants were plants from 1978. All the weed was super seedy and crappy. I got this pound of like this weed called Guerrero for like $50. And I threw the seeds out of my room, and these plants came out, right? So I let them grow, and after I harvested them after the summer, they were garbage plants, but we made our first batch of brownies, and I made this brownies, and my football teammates were at my house, and I got them incredibly stoned, like for a couple days. We ate all these brownies. We ate about 5 of them each, and we didn't know what we were doing. And we were laid out for a couple days. So that was my first batch of brownies. Then, you know, after my senior year, I went to the University of Hawaii on the Big Island of Hawaii. And there's, you know, sitting at the school cafeteria, you could tell who the growers were back then. And, you know, I needed to buy herbs, so I hit them up, and eventually they gave me my first trimming job.
Okay.
And that's when I developed some seeds. Some seeds came my way because I was trimming buds, and then I grew my first plants in Hawaii and up on the slopes of Kilauea, the volcano that you see going off all these years.
Yeah.
Right down there, you know, those were the wild days. There was green harvest flying overhead, and, you know, you'd hear gunshots at night and, you know, crazy things like that.
Yeah.
We were always getting ripped off. It was hard to grow there, you know, plus you had a lot of rain. You had to fight the rain and the mold. But we pulled off some crops, and it helped me get through college, and that's how my cannabis kind of evolved. And then my dad told me, Pete, you've been to Hawaii for 6 years. It's time to get your butt home. You got to quit surfing and smoking all that weed. It's time to come home. So, you know, I had a family. I had a bunch of kids. I got out of the cannabis industry for a while, and they grew up, and I was like, you know, the medical days were starting, and I'm like, well, I need to get back in this.
Yeah.
And so I started growing up in the Santa Cruz mountains again, and then soon after that, I converted my garage into like a state-of-the-art grow room, which was really cool to do, learn all that.
Yeah.
And so it all started out with just the flower, the plants being my passion. And then when I went to Oaksterdam, the University of Oakland, there, the weed university, there was a school project. It was for my term paper for that class, and it was, what canna business would you start if you were going to have a canna business? What would you do? And when that summer, we'd already made a batch of the butter and the brownies, the cookies, and people were just loving them. And that's how Big Pete's was born. We then made some batches, and a few nights I'm up late on Weed Maps looking at all the stores popping in there, and I'm like, okay, sales trip, San Jose, we'll go knock out 10 stores, you know, and then with every area we did the same thing, and that's how we kind of developed our start in the business.
So it started with a school project.
Started with a school project, yeah.
That's cool. That's really cool. Because it sounded like you were kind of heading in that path of like just doing flour, you know, like packaging eighths up and whatever, and like, you know. So that's really cool that it would come about like that. Were all the stores like really receptive when you came in? You know,
it was kind of like some were and some weren't, you know, and some were really stoked, and some people just weren't ready for it yet, you know. But for the most part, they loved it, and we were making lots of deliveries to San Jose. That's where we got our big start.
In San Jose?
Yeah,
Okay.
because overnight they pumped. There was like 120 stores
Oh, wow.
that came in overnight, and then as you guys know, the feds have gone through every city and dismantled how many stores there were, weeded out the bad guys and kept the good guys, right? So San Jose then only had 30 stores, let's say. Well, that made us go to Berkeley, Oakland, San Francisco, Santa Rosa, right?
And now you're in how many stores?
And now we're from Eureka all the way down to the border in like 400 stores. Yeah.
And now you're expanding into other markets?
We're expanding into other markets, Pete.
Yeah, Florida.
Over that.
Florida's where we're in right now. We just launched our cookies there at the end of June. And that's going very well so far. People are loving our cookies out there, and it's cool to get in early out there, right? Because there's not a ton of edibles,
Yeah.
I'm actually going out there Monday.
Oh, nice.
And on Wednesday, it's National Chocolate Chip Cookie Day. I'll be at a store, one of our new stores in Florida, talking to people about chocolate chip cookies and handing out some swag and stuff like that. So we're gonna go to Florida next week.
What day? Wednesday? We got to remember that. We got to bring some chocolate chip cookies.
Yeah,
We'll open up some bags of Big Pete's.
nice.
So it's funny because like I've been thinking about this. I actually went to culinary school with the intention of like, okay, I'm gonna make edibles myself, and then, things happened, life happened, and I ended up where I am now. But through all that, I had actually thought like, it'd be really cool if somebody did like an edible bakery, like you could do a Big Pete's cookie shop, and just sell them. Just like that would be out here. I think it'd be really cool.
No doubt.
So what are the flavors that you have coming up, or are you able to open up about that? I know we're talking about brownies.
Yeah, so some of our new flavors are the strawberry coconut cookie that just came out pretty recently. That's going to be a vegan and gluten-free option, a little bit healthier option. The Insane Churro cookie just came out on 420 a few months back. Going forward, we're going to do another vegan option. Probably first will be a vanilla cookie, and then a chocolate option. So we'll probably end up with 3 vegan, gluten-free options. Those have been very successful so far. We're gonna kind of have some line extensions on the 100 milligram single. So we'll be coming out with the birthday cake, the churro cookie, and the double chocolate very soon with the 100 milligram single cookie. Right now it's available in the chocolate chip and peanut butter only. So that's kind of right around the corner. Then from there, brownies for sure. We have a chocolate peanut butter cookie that's delicious. It's a lot similar to our double chocolate cookie, and we'll have peanut butter chips. Ooh. That's delicious. So
I can't wait to try that one.
That's gonna be a good one.
It's a good one for sure.
We want to sell the canna-butter eventually as well, so that way people can make cookies or make cakes or make whatever they want at their house. We're excited about that.
I had an idea last year, and I just couldn't figure out how to get it up and going. Was to do, you ever see like the cookie in a jar?
Right.
Do something
The
like
dry
that.
ingredients.
Yeah, all the dry ingredients, and then the canna-butter go with it, and then like let people, because sometimes it's just the experience of making it yourself.
Yeah.
Even if it's your recipe, it's like still fun to go in there and whip it all up and bake
No doubt.
it. And, sometimes make a plate-sized cookie if you want to and see what happens.
Right.
That's really cool. What about like other states like Colorado? I was kind of surprised that when you said Florida. I was like, damn, Colorado's been up and running, and kind of figured that'd be one of the like the next logical.
No doubt. I mean, same with Nevada.
Yeah.
We're working on getting in there, and in Arizona as well. It's tough though, right? Because with the federal laws being the way they are, you have to have a manufacturing facility or a cookie factory in every state, right? You can't bring them over state lines. So, it's not easy to scale up. If we could just send them through a distribution company or whatever across the nation, then we could just make them out of our cookie factory here. So you know, it's all about finding good partners
Yeah.
that are focused on food manufacturing, right? Most people get into the cannabis industry, you know, wanting to open a dispensary or wanting to grow cannabis, right? Or make hash oil, or right. Not everyone gets into the cannabis industry to make cookies.
Yeah.
So finding the right partner is kind of, you know, it's a challenge because we don't, right, in our model, like in Florida, is like the licensing model, right? And so, you know, yeah, it's just,
You have to trust somebody that's
Yeah.
going to have the same standards you do.
It's like a
Make the cookies
franchise.
the same way you want them made.
exactly, that's where I was going. It's like a franchise, so it's got to be the same quality,
Yeah.
and they got to really have the same, you know, love for this that we do.
So if I go to Florida, the Big Pete's cookie here tastes just like the one out there.
Yep, that's the goal, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense because then it does really make it hard if you have to have facilities everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, how do you monitor all that?
Well,
You know,
yeah.
You guys don't have a huge crew of people, and then that just means like that many more people that got to be out there managing all, like looking at that quality.
Exactly. And the other option is to go into every state and open up our own factory, and then now that's going to cost,
A lot.
you know,
Yeah.
millions and millions of
Yeah.
dollars to go set up a cookie factory in every state. So really, we're focused on California. We're focused with our partners in Florida. You know, I think Nevada and Arizona are close states that, hey, we're open to moving in there for sure, and we'll see.
Well, hopefully it won't be too much longer. It'll be federally legal,
Yeah.
and that won't be an issue. Like you said, then you can just go wherever you want.
That would make it easy.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if I had any other questions. You guys pretty much answered everything that I was thinking already. Do you guys have any questions, Megan?
What are each of your favorite flavors?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right now, I like the churro. It's my favorite flavor. It's the newest flavor. You know, I've eaten so many of the other ones. It's super nice to have this new flavor
Yeah.
come out.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, the churro for me.
I want to try that. What did you say? It was cherry pie? Is that what it
The
is?
cherry
I
pie.
want to try that one.
Okay.
We gotta get a bag of those.
We'll see what we can do.
Okay. And what about you?
Yeah, mine, you know, Big Pete stole mine, but I'll go, it's crazy. They're all so good, right? And I'm not just saying that, but it's like when we eat one, it's like, oh, that's my favorite. But probably, you know, I've been eating the strawberry coconut cookies. I got a bag of those at my house, and, you know, I'll eat one of those at night. And
Yeah. And then you guys, what was the one that you did for Christmas?
oh, yeah, just a sugar cookie.
The sugar cookie. That's
Yeah.
what I was like. I couldn't remember what that one was. It was good though. I liked it.
Yeah, it's got red sprinkles.
I thought it was like there was a snickerdoodle or something like that.
Yeah, we have that. That's our cinnamon sugar cookie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a snickerdoodle.
For some reason I thought that I got them mixed up,
Right.
but that yeah.
We don't call it a snickerdoodle because it's appealing to kids. So that's our interpretation of the
Okay.
laws. We try to not be appealing to kids, right? That's part of what we have to go by with the regulations and just the laws. And once you're 21, then
Yeah. It's hard too because like some even as an adult, I see some of the packaging and it brings
Yeah.
me immediately back to like when I was a kid. I'm like, oh, that
Right.
Right. I wonder who's making the rules because so many packages look
Right.
like they're ready for kids. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
I know.
But we're trying to do things by the book for sure. And we used to have a cartoon character on our bags, and that was me. I was with the shaka, the red, yellow, green shirt. That's our old branding.
Okay.
And so we went to this. Pete, what year was that?
I think 2016, beginning
Yeah.
of 2016.
Yep.
I want to say.
Under
2015
Pete's,
maybe?
guidance, we went with this new packaging and new
Yeah.
branding, and it's really nice. We're really stoked with it.
I like the different colors. It really makes it easy, like for the customer to just know, like, you know, okay, this is a sativa, this
Yeah.
is an indica. You know, they don't have to do a whole lot of like digging into it, and it's easy for us too when we're out on the floor too.
Right.
You know, to guide them in that right direction. Have you guys thought about doing anything other than just like baked stuff, like edibles, or you know, other markets you tried?
I mean, we're mostly focused on just the baked good category. you know, and doing that well. Like we've had so many opportunities over the years for sure, but I think part of our success is staying focused on on just like what we do best.
Doing one thing well.
You know, and but at the same time, I do think we have a great brand that people like and recognize, and so down the line we could probably get into other products. But really, we're just focused on the cookies, focused on the baked good category.
Stick with it. 'Cause
Yeah.
you're doing it right for sure. I'll keep eating them.
Yeah. Yeah, but back when we first started, it was literally like, you know, my dad had his class project. We were all in a room on the couch smoking joints, coming up with our logo, and we thought, okay, we need some, you know, it was so totally basic. What are people gonna remember, right? And we had this vision of like kind of a goofy guy, like throwing up a shaka with a Hawaiian shirt or something. You know, that was even our first version. He had a Hawaiian shirt, but then we put the red, gold, and green for my dad's love of reggae music, right? And then the shaka was his love of Hawaii and his back to his Hawaiian roots in college and growing cannabis on the volcano. And then soon after, we were really paying close attention to the laws and knew that, hey, this cartoon, this is called the Joe Camel Law, right? So you're right, because Joe Camel had the funny cartoon, and that's, I mean, you know, it was great marketing, but it ended up being appealing to kids, right? And so we definitely had to clean that up pre-legalization.
Right.
And I think that was 2015.
It always blows my mind that cannabis gets that like such scrutiny over that, because you know, kids can walk into most stores that sell liquor, and like some of the smaller ones, like literally where I'm from, you walk into there's liquor on one side and candy on the other side, and they don't care. They don't like care that you're not 21, and my 10-year-old daughter could go in there and it's okay. Right. But with cannabis, you can't have like certain things. You know what I mean?
It's
you gotta
backwards.
get ID'd before you even go in the store. So it's just it's.
I mean, we've come a long way, but still, it's like, you know, when you compare it to alcohol, it's like, what's better? Come on, guys. Like cannabis, you know, alcohol, you're gonna get drunk, belligerent. You're gonna do stupid things. You're gonna, you know, say stupid things. Nothing really good. Fight people. You know, you've seen it all, right? And so, but with cannabis, you've never seen, like, no one acts crazy. They might get stoned and like get hungry, you know.
Everybody I know says like I was in the military, so I couldn't consume, and everybody's like, man, when you started like smoking weed and like eating that, you're so much happier. I'm like, I mean, because that was
for me. It's all about the attitude adjustment. This herb, these cookies, it gives me this attitude adjustment. And, you know, it makes me become a nicer person.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Right?
Yeah.
Nothing can go wrong, really.
I've never heard anybody say I'm an angry stoner.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I've heard I'm an angry drunk.
I've heard from a lot of parents that they're better parents when they're high because they're more engaged with their kids and, like, they're on their level a little bit.
Yeah.
So.
More creative.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an amazing thing. I'm really looking forward to the next few years, just going forward and seeing how because it's going to change. It's always going to change, you know. But just more educating the consumers, because they come in a lot of times and they still, even though it's been legal for a while, they come in, they haven't done a lot of research, you know. So they're just literally trusting the bud tender to sell them the right thing, and it's just nice to now have outlets and ways to educate them, so that when they walk out of the store, you can know that you're feeling confident that you sold them the right thing, and then they're going to come back because they trust you now. Yep. And you get that when you have like a 10 milligram cookie, and they know like, okay, I've literally had people like, oh, you're out of those the sativa cookies. I'll wait, even though we have other options. Right. You know, they're like, no, I'll come back when you get them back. You know. Right. So that's really cool to to build that like following and that loyalty, brand loyalty. You know.
Yeah, and that's one of the things we're focused on are the like bud tender education, right? Because you're right, the bud tenders are really like, you know, most people go into the store and they're kind of like, what's the best? What's the best weed you got? You know, I'm looking for an edible, right? So they're really relying on the bud tender. I don't know what percentage, but you know, 75% of the people going in there are relying on the bud tender to kind of steer them in the right direction. So that's big for us is the bud tender trainings. Me and Big P, we'll go out there and bring cookies and swag and talk with the bud tenders, and that's the funnest part of our job is getting out on the road and meeting all the cool people in the industry, really. And that's been like that since day one, where I remember like going on our first sales trip together on deliveries. I mean, back in the day we used to do it all, right? And just telling my dad, man, everyone's so nice. God, like, how's everyone so nice? Like, this is awesome, So I mean, and it's still like that's changed a lot since 2010, but it's very much more business oriented now. But still, everyone at the stores for the most part, are just the nicest people.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a big percentage of people that come in really, you almost feel like, for lack of a better term, like you're like a medical professional, I feel like sometimes, because they're literally coming in like, I have anxiety, I can't sleep, all these things, and they're relying on you to give them something that's going to give them a good night's sleep, or like just chill them out a little bit so they're not so anxious. And I didn't know that going into the business, but it's one of the highlights of my day is like when you can change somebody's life for the better, really, and then they come back and tell you how great it was. It's such a good feeling. It really like gives you that fulfillment. That was one of the reasons when I got into culinary school, was because I love that. To me, there's nothing better when you like give somebody your food for the first time, and that look on their face when they take that first bite. You're just like waiting to see that smile on their face, or maybe not. Maybe they don't like it, but it makes it all worth it in the end. When you're doing that.
So Donald, you went from culinary school. So then, how did you get into like the retail, and what kind of drove you to do that?
So I went to culinary school right after the Navy, and then ended up through just life happening, and there wasn't a lot of money to be made as a pastry chef. Maybe if I would have stuck it out, who knows where I could have gone with it. But opportunities came up to do other things, and went to help my dad run our family business down in Palm Springs, and did that for like 5 years. And when I came back, I didn't really bake like during that whole time, like just here and there. So you get rusty, and I didn't really feel comfortable when I came back up here to try to go back into like confidently being like a pastry chef again. So I ended up doing construction, and that was just wreaking havoc on my body. I hated it. And through a friend of mine, he knew that Doobie Nights was hiring, and the rest is history. I just kind of came in I literally came into the interview like, I'll work the front desk. I don't care. Like, I'll answer phones. Just wanted to get in the industry because I knew, like, I could see the future, that it's going to grow. It's going to get better. And it always was something that interested me. All my friends grew, So I honestly didn't think I'd be here almost 2 years later. I thought I was just going to be a bud tender for a bit, and it was just going to kill some time. You know what I mean? Like, until the next thing came along. But now it's like literally the first time in my life I wake up every morning excited to come to work, excited to see the same our loyal customers come in. It's great to, like, now some of them are friends. I hang out with them outside of work. So I've never felt more fulfilled than I have doing in this industry. Nice. And then the podcast just came about. We were like 2 weeks in at Doobie Nights, and we have this huge area to do it. And I thought, like, man, this is awesome. Like, we should totally do a podcast. Yeah. But then COVID happened, and things we had to switch gears and move in a totally different direction. And one day I brought it up again, and they said, okay, do it. And then I'm thinking, like I said earlier, like, oh, this would be great. I'd just be sitting on the couch with a microphone and talking to people. And then they said, no, we want to video it. Like, okay, now you're really putting me under the pressure. It just brings a whole different level of things to it. But so we started, like 3-4 months ago, maybe a little less. And we've probably got like 12 to 13 episodes recorded, but only a few have actually hit.
I think
but
we're at least 6 now?
Yeah, 6. But it's growing for sure, and it's fun to watch it just like kind of grow organically, and we're learning as we go, kind of like probably you guys did too.
Right.
You're never going to hit a home run like first time out.
For sure.
We've had our little bumps in the road, but it's fun. it's so much fun. Like even just driving here, having the conversations,
Mm-hmm.
getting to see this. I would have never come to here otherwise.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? So it's really cool. I appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to sit down and like walk us through, tell us the story. You know, I think it goes a long ways for the customers too.
Yeah.
When they see it, they're going to kind of get to see the history, and I think it makes them more willing to purchase the products, because
Right.
customers, they do come in and ask like, well, I've had them buy products based on like a company donating to a certain cause or whatnot, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So having that personal touch goes a long ways, especially in Northern California.
Yeah,
I feel like they're
totally.
really focused on that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we want people to know. This is a real family business,
Yeah.
right? Big Pete's a real guy.
Yeah.
You know that you know is a local Santa Cruz guy that grew cannabis in on the slopes of the volcano and went to Oaksterdam, and you know it's a real authentic stories, and we want
Yeah.
people to learn that, because you're right, like that's cool, and you know people, you know, hopefully they'll buy our cookies over the competitors.
Oh, for sure.
Just because of that sometimes, right? So
Yeah, I mean, I it's funny because when we were pulling up, I'm thinking like, I see the amount of cookies we go through, right? So I'm thinking like, this is gonna be a big ass, huge like facility, like, you know, and you know, I don't know if I was like picturing like like Nestle, like, you know what I mean, like something like
Right.
that. But it's really cool to see that it really is like just a small family operation, and you know, and it's just like that. It's like you built like a Doobie Nights. We're a family there. You know, I spend more time with them than I do pretty much at home all, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
you know, it's really cool to see the relationships that get built through it, and
Yep.
you know, be able to be there for one another when they need it. You know.
Yeah. No, that's what it's all about, right? You
Yeah.
said like getting up in the morning and being stoked to go work, right? And like that's, I think the cannabis industry brings a lot of that, right? I mean, just all the jobs, but good jobs that people are stoked to do, right? So
Yeah.
A couple of things we do for the community is that we host beach cleanups.
Yeah, we wanted to get involved in that.
Yeah, we had one last weekend at San Diego. Last month we had one in Santa Cruz that did really well. Collected over 200 pounds of garbage.
Wow. Okay.
And the other thing is we give compassion cookies to the Santa Cruz Veterans Alliance.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
We just started a compassion program through a company, Deer Cannabis, and,
yeah, we work with them too.
and that's really picking up.
Yep.
So we might have some of your guys' stuff coming through them
For sure.
eventually. Yeah.
For sure, and that's, you know, in the early years that was like key, and I
Yeah.
was, you know, in part back to like the hemp cons, and really that kept us going, was hearing all these stories about helping people, right? And, you know, I mean, we got into this because it was like, okay, we want to do business, and this is a good opportunity, and you know, when I was graduating college in 2010, it was kind of after the 2008 recession, and it wasn't the best time to be graduating college for like a normal job,
Right.
but it was the perfect time to get into the cannabis industry and get on the ground floor. But like, you know, we weren't making a lot of money, right? I mean, we were making cookies, we were hustling, we made enough money to get by, and that was cool. And we loved doing it, and we got up every morning, we were stoked. But hearing those stories is really, I think, what kept us like going those first several years.
Yeah, it does. It keeps you motivated for sure. You know, and getting involved in, we just did adopt a highway up in Santa Rosa, so now we're going out and doing our part in the community, and I'm sure that's just the springboard into many other things that we'll probably do. The Deer Cannabis compassion program is really starting to take off. We just did a Patients Day, and it was really nice to put some bags together for the, you know, because it's expensive, and it can be, and I would much rather see people coming in and getting cannabis than going to the doctor for that prescription.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting some of the cookies to throw in those bags for those customers too.
Yeah. You let us know.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
for
and
sure.
we never hardly ever say no. And yeah, we donate to tons of capacity. The Santa Cruz Veterans Alliance being kind of our number one, but all kinds of different veterans groups, you know, over the years, and even just lately. And then Deer Cannabis, we just recently did a batch with them as well. You know.
Yeah.
So.
Do you guys on the beach cleanups? You just like all through California, just like all the way up the coast? Okay.
Yeah, so we've done them in San Diego, LA. So I think we have another one coming up this month, or no, next month, in August, at the end of August in Venice Beach. And then we're gonna do another one September. We haven't come on the date yet. We haven't figured out the date, but we'll let you guys know. We're gonna do an end of the summer, probably Santa Cruz.
Okay.
We might try to do one in San Francisco as well, actually, and that would be up in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, I'd if I can get the time off, I'll come do it with you guys. That'd be
Yeah, it's fun. It's the best. I mean, because usually when you go to the beach, you just throw a blanket down or a towel and you kind of just sit around, but it's fun to like walk around the beach and you know, and
see what you find.
Yeah, and you find all kinds of stuff, right? I mean, you really do. And you know, the last one in Santa Cruz, we picked up 200 pounds in 3 hours.
Wow.
About 200 pounds of trash off the beach. So it needs it. And that was, I think, after 4th of July or.
Oh yeah.
You know, so
I can imagine after that.
Yeah, and we cleaned down by the boardwalk, so
Okay.
you know, there's thousands of people see us cleaning. It kind of helps educate those folks, you know, like, hey, maybe we should clean up after ourselves
Yeah.
when we
Yeah.
leave, you know.
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing that comes about it is people seeing you going, oh, maybe I shouldn't just throw my, you know, Coca-Cola on the ground or like just throw my can over here. Like, so just kind of people seeing it.
And well, that too, and also for me, it's like it also changes that perception of like we're not just a bunch of stoners.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Like, you know, we really do care about the community and like the people that we live around, and we want to see it thrive and look nice, and you know, we care about the environment. You know,
Yeah.
I think a lot of the perception is like, oh, you're just a stoner, you're laying at home on the couch all day,
Yeah.
just eating. You know what I mean? It's
For
not
sure.
like that. So it's nice too to get people more aware that
Yeah.
you know.
And that's how it started for us, right? It was like, it was still, you know, illegal. Or we were running, but there was no rules in Santa Cruz County for edibles. We were just kind of like flying under the radar, right?
Yeah.
In the early years, and so that was our way of coming out and saying, hey, we're community members, business people. We're not drug dealers.
Yeah.
Okay, so, you know, we're giving back. We want to give back to the community. That was our way of kind of coming out and doing that and kind of coming out of the shadows.
Right. How does and the community here? You know, they're all real supportive.
Oh, they are now, yeah.
I bet.
And they were back then. I mean, they looked the other way,
Yeah.
right? You know, and we were always kind of, oh yeah, we make cookies, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't really go too deep into what kind of cookies.
What kind of cookies? Okay. Yeah. Oh, well, I appreciate you guys, man. I really do. I want to come out when you guys do your next beach cleanup.
Cool.
Let us know. We'll come. We'll send somebody. for
Yeah.
sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we should do a podcast down there. You know, set
Yeah.
up the microphone and you know,
Okay.
bring your camera crew and.
Yeah, that's what we really would like to do that too. Get some footage for that because you know, just as much as we can just put out there like what we're doing to help out, it's just going to motivate more people to do the same thing. You know,
Exactly.
get other companies involved. We adopted the highway, but we're not the only ones that are. You know, we'll let anybody come help us clean it up.
Sure.
Yeah. No doubt.
So, yeah, they found some interesting things on the last one: cell phones, all kinds of stuff. So,
Wow.
yeah, knives.
Weapons.
Yeah, packing peanuts, everything. Look at everything.
Yeah, right. Well, I was driving down the highway a couple days ago, and there was probably 100 boots. Just
shit.
so like it was like a boot barn truck, like left the back thing open or something, and there was just like
Wow.
all these cowboy boots in the middle of the road.
Oh no.
Oh man. Well, like I said, I appreciate you guys taking the time out. And you know, I look forward to seeing what else hits our shelves. I'm definitely, when we get back, gonna jump on Tony about getting the churro cookies because
Yeah, let them
I
know.
think we need those
No doubt.
for sure.
No doubt.
But yeah, keep in touch with us for sure. We'll do another episode
Cool.
in our neck of the woods.
Okay.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
We're down, guys. Thanks for coming out
Yeah,
today.
thanks
and
for reaching out and
Yeah,
coming to the cookie factory.
Yeah, it was worth the drive.
thanks, Donald.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cut.